Africa's borders have barely budged since the 1960s, thanks to a rule from the African Union. Colonial borders are final. This was meant to prevent chaos, but what if a region builds its own government, army, and currency, and keeps the peace while its parent country falls apart? Enter Somaliland, a place that's been running its own show for over 30 years. Somaliland says, "We've done everything right. Can we be our own country now?" This isn't just a local issue. It challenges the very foundation of Africa's borders. On one side, stability and territorial integrity. On the other, self-determination and the right to choose your own destiny. Somaliland claims it's not breaking up a country, just restoring its old pre-union sovereignty. The world now faces a tough question: stick to old rules, or recognize a new reality built from the ground up. Pull up a map of Somalia and look north. There's Somaliland, hugging the Gulf of Aden. It's about the size of Greece, with a long coastline and borders with Djibouti, Ethiopia, and Puntland. Officially, it's part of Somalia, but on the ground, it's a different story. Somaliland has its own government, currency, army, and even passports, though those don't get you far internationally. Around 5.7 million people live here, most identifying as Somalilanders, not Somalis. They've held multiple democratic elections, often praised by international observers. While southern Somalia has struggled with war and instability, Somaliland has managed its own affairs for decades. On paper, it's Somalia. In reality, it's a nation waiting for the world to catch up. Somaliland isn't a rebel movement, it's a functioning government, paving roads and collecting taxes, just waiting for recognition. Somaliland's independence claim is rooted in colonial history. The British ruled the north, British Somaliland, the Italians, the south, Italian Somaliland, two separate territories with different systems. In 1960, British Somaliland became independent and was recognized by over 30 countries. 5 days later, it voluntarily united with Italian Somaliland to form Somalia, inspired by Pan-Somalism. But the union quickly soured. Northerners felt marginalized as power concentrated in Mogadishu. Discontent grew, especially after a 1969 coup brought Siad Barre to power. His regime targeted the north, especially the Isaac clan, turning political tension into a fight for survival. The dream of unity faded as the north became a target. Somaliland's argument: they're not seceding, just undoing a failed union. Their brief independence in 1960 is the cornerstone of their case. Under Siad Barre, the north faced brutal repression, culminating in what many call a genocide. The Somali national movement fought back, but the regime bombed Hargeisa, destroying most of the city and forcing hundreds of thousands to flee. When Barre's regime collapsed in 1991, Somalia descended into chaos. But in the north, SNM leaders and clan elders chose a different path. They declared the restoration of Somaliland's independence, arguing they were simply leaving a voluntary union gone wrong. From that day, Somaliland focused on disarmament, reconciliation, and state-building. While the world watched Mogadishu burn, they weren't inventing a new country, just reviving the one that briefly existed. For Somalilanders, it was a reset, a chance to build peace from the ashes. Their story is one of survival and self-determination. While southern Somalia unraveled, Somaliland quietly built a functioning state, almost entirely on its own. They used traditional clan structures and bottom-up reconciliation to forge peace. The result: a hybrid government blending democracy with Somali customs. The Gurti, a council of elders, helps resolve conflicts and keeps the peace. Somaliland has its own police, military, and collects taxes on a shoestring budget. Most impressively, they've held peaceful elections and seen real transfers of power. In a region known for instability, Somaliland stands out as a pocket of peace. Businesses operate, streets are safe, and life goes on without massive foreign aid. Somalilanders believe they've earned their place among nations through hard work, not charity. They're a finished product, just waiting for the world to acknowledge it. Why does recognition matter so much? Because being unrecognized is like being invisible. Somaliland can't get loans from the World Bank or IMF, and foreign investors are wary. There's no legal safety net. The economy relies heavily on remittances, and big projects are out of reach. Travel is tough. Somaliland passports aren't accepted, so people must use Somali ones, which stings for those who don't identify as Somali. Diplomatically, Somaliland can't sign treaties or join international organizations. There's always the threat that a future Somali government could try to reclaim the territory by force. Recognition would mean security, dignity, and a seat at the table. For Somalilanders, it's about being seen and respected for what they've built. So why hasn't anyone recognized Somaliland? The answer: the domino effect. The African Union fears that if Somaliland gets independence, other separatist movements will demand the same, risking chaos. Colonial borders, however flawed, are seen as the safest way to keep the peace. Somaliland argues it's a unique case. They're restoring an old border, not creating a new one. They meet all the criteria for statehood, but the world is stuck in a political stalemate. The AU won't act without a deal between Somaliland and Somalia, but Somalia won't agree to its own breakup. So everyone waits, afraid to make the first move. Somaliland remains in limbo, its future tied to a continent's fear of unraveling. Somaliland's location is a geopolitical jackpot. Its coastline sits on the Gulf of Aden, one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. In 2018, the UAE's DP World invested in Berbera port, giving Somaliland a strategic boost and attracting Ethiopia, desperate for sea access. These deals bring investment, jobs, and powerful friends, de facto recognition through economics. In 2024, Ethiopia signed a deal to lease coastline for a naval base, hinting at possible recognition and shaking up the region. Global powers like the US, China, and Russia are watching closely. Somaliland is a rare island of stability in a volatile neighborhood. China has a base in nearby Djibouti. The US worries about shipping security and extremism. Somaliland's stability makes it a valuable partner, and its recognition is becoming a strategic, not just legal, question. As competition heats up, Somaliland's future is more relevant than ever. So, what happens when reality outgrows the old map? Somaliland has built peace and democracy while Somalia struggles. The world clings to the hope of Somali unity, but after 30 years, that hope looks more like denial. Somaliland's case forces us to ask, should old rules always trump new realities? They're not violent separatists, they're reclaiming lost sovereignty and have proven they can govern. Recognizing Somaliland would be bold, but it could reward peace and stability. Eritrea and South Sudan were recognized after breaking away. Why not Somaliland? This is a test for the African Union and the world. Can they adapt to new realities? Somaliland keeps knocking on the door. Sooner or later, the world must answer. Will we stick to old maps, or finally draw a new line that reflects the world as it is? So, what's next for Somaliland? After decades of waiting, building and hoping, the question isn't just whether the world will recognize Somaliland, but how Somaliland will shape its own future in the meantime. Can it keep its hard-won peace and democracy alive? Even without international validation, will new generations push for change or grow frustrated by the world's silence? And as global powers eye the Horn of Africa, will Somaliland's patience finally pay off? Or will it be tested like never before? The journey isn't over. For Somaliland, the quest for recognition is about more than borders. It's about dignity, opportunity, and the right to be seen. The world may hesitate, but Somaliland's story is far from finished. Now we want to hear from you. What do you think about Somaliland's journey so far? Should the world recognize it as its own country, or do you see things differently? How do you think Somaliland's story will shape the future of the Horn of Africa? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get the conversation started. And if you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might not know about Somaliland's unique path. Because sometimes the world's most important stories are the ones we write together. Want to dig deeper into Somaliland's story? Check out the links in the description for articles, documentaries, and resources we use to make this video. Whether you're a history buff or just curious about global politics, there's plenty more to discover. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Curious about how we put this video together? Here's a quick peek behind the curtain. From researching reliable sources to crafting a compelling narrative and editing visuals, every step was carefully planned to give you the clearest view of Somaliland's unique story. If you want more behind-the-scenes content or have suggestions for future topics, let us know in the comments. Your feedback helps shape what we create next. Before we wrap up, here are some bonus facts about Somaliland that might surprise you. Did you know that Somaliland issues its own currency, the Somaliland shilling, but most international transactions still use the US dollar? Or that Hargeisa, the capital, is home to one of East Africa's largest livestock markets? And here's a fun one. Somaliland has its own national anthem and even competes in international football tournaments, though not under FIFA. These little details show just how much life goes on, even in a place the world hasn't officially recognized. Got any quirky facts we missed? Drop them in the comments.